Hey everybody, my name is Al Nicoletti. I'm an attorney here in Florida, and welcome to the Al Nicoletti Show, where I bring on real estate super investors, rising rock stars, movers and shakers, and leaders of clubs in their community that educate, entertain, and inspire all things Florida real estate on how you can take your company to the next level. It is amazing the people you meet when you go to different networking events. I am blessed to be a part of the whole Jacksonville investor community, all the Yellowbird meetings, the REIA meetings, the Cash Geek Network meetings. And it's incredible when you connect with people even in Tampa, in Orlando, and then they connect you with other people that are in that market. And I was so lucky to be a part of Frank Everhart's Florida Roundtable and the Sarasota REIA, where I did a presentation on probate. And when I did that presentation, I think there were about 20 to 30 people on that call. Nobody knew who I was. Frank didn't know who I was. I was just jumping in that area. But I do so many webinars and speaking things. I'm just like, here we go. Here's the presentation. Never heard about probate before? Now you will. And on the webinar was Adrian Smude, right? And he was there, and he was listening the whole time. And we were having a great time talking about probate with Frank, and everybody's asking questions. And I see Adrian over there, and he's got like a mobile home behind him. He's got "My Wife Buys Mobile Homes." He's got the number on his t-shirt. And I'm thinking, look, if you have the phone number on your t-shirt and you are walking around promoting this with a background of a mobile home, you are a serious investor in whatever market you were in. And I believe he's in Polk County, that Polk County area, the Tampa area. And so I'm so happy to have him on. I can't wait for this episode to be released when everybody can hear about the niche of mobile homes, because I don't think I've had anybody on talking about mobile homes yet, or maybe mobile home parks. Very neat, because you have a lot of people coming from California and New York that want to buy property here in Florida, hedge fund companies. And if there's mobile home parks for purchase, I'm sure you can believe that they're looking to redevelop them or make something new about them. So without further ado, Adrian, welcome to my show. I am so happy to have scheduled you here. I got you, and we're going to really dive deep on how Adrian exchanged $386 cash flow into $3,311 cash flow. He's going to talk about this, and it's really great that we're going to hear that, and how he took over 10 vacations a year while running his own business. I want to hear about that. I haven't even taken a vacation this year, and I want to take the first one, so I need to hear about that. And of course, we're going to talk about self-improvement, how business is easy, but the mindset is challenging, and why masterminds and the miracle morning is really important to your routine. And last but not least, I can't get off the show without talking about probate and probate. He's got an incredible probate story about how he overcame a challenge. He's going to talk about it. Adrian, welcome.
Thank you, Al. I need another cup of coffee to keep up with your energy level.
I do these. I've done like 30, 40, and I don't know. I love talking about the real estate side to things. I think, I found probate being a niche. I found that trust administration being a niche. And I truly believe I found podcasting and being on a show to be a niche.
I think in order to speak in anything law, you have to have that extra energy and excitement, because it's not always a fun subject for us. That we just want you to take care of it and for you to educate us on it like you did at the roundtable and keep it interesting and exciting is not an easy task, man. You do a good job with it.
I think I'm the only probate attorney to liven up death, and I'm the only probate attorney to talk about probate to death. So I know how to do it, So, but hey, this we want to hear all about you and your business and what you do with the mobile homes, super niche. Let everybody know who you are. What were you doing before real estate? So before you jumped into the investing world, and what are you doing today conquering that mobile home niche?
So before real estate investing, I was living with my parents. Really, I worked at Walmart, but I've been an investor in some form for 17 years. I bought my first house when I was 20. The real quick story that I was being evicted. It was 2003. My cousin was a mortgage broker at the time. He said, "Hey, why don't you buy a house?" And I said, "Okay." And I bought a house. You didn't really need much more than a heartbeat back then. and moved all my friends in then that were helping me get evicted. That turned out better than it should have. We are actually today rehabbing that house and we're going to sell it. And once I explain the exchange that we did a few years ago for more cash flow, you'll understand why we have made the decision to sell it. I spent probably about 11, 12 years as a hobby landlord, just knowing what the banks told me. We had a few properties. Well, I had a few properties. And then when my wife and we got married and we got more serious, decided we didn't want to work a normal job forever. I was in event marketing for a lot of those years. And I got into the niche of mobile homes because, sorry, I should back up. My second property I ever bought was at the top of the market. I had an ARM, losing a little bit every month, but it's okay. You can refinance in 2 years. Well, not when you buy at the very top of the market. You can't do that. So it ended up being a short sale, which at the time was pretty devastating, but it made me a very conservative investor. So I've been wrong for 4 or 5 years now, thinking that we've been at the top. They can't go any higher. I shouldn't be buying anything. And that's how I got into mobile homes, because a site-built ranch style, beautiful $250,000 house did not make sense as a rental to me anymore because of what happened to me on my second purchase. So I started listening to what I call the old gray hair bald guys in the back of like REI meetings that you go around speaking at, and they all either own mobile homes or at some point owned them. And my thought process was, these guys have been doing it longer than I've been alive. They probably know something. So I just dove in. We bought a mobile home. Within a few months, we had our second one. And we have been slowly selling our ranch style houses and buying mobile homes because we are about cash flow. That's how we eat. We live off of this. My wife is an RN and she enjoys what she's doing. She's in Texas right now for COVID relief. So she gets a lot of passion about being able to help with that. And we're cash flow investors. We don't fix and flip. I don't know how to do that. I don't want to know how to do that. I just want money coming in every month. That is our business. Lazier, the better.
The lazier, the better. So pure like wholesaler, would you say that?
So we do a little bit of wholesaling. We like to buy it and rent it. We've done a little bit of rent to own as well. You got to make sure you comply with all the Dodd-Frank and all of that. But our main business is buy and rent. We wholesale what we don't. It doesn't work for us. We even have a partner that buys just the mobiles that need to be removed because we were getting a lot of those calls, and I hate not being able to help someone that calls us. So I finally found someone that we work with now, and we pre-screen them and help out the seller, get them a tiny bit of money if we can, help out a friend, and we make a little bit. We don't ever want someone to call us and not have a direction to send them. We are not the solution for most people that ever call us. But we want to be able to send them a direction because that's the right thing to do.
So tell us about mobile homes. What is so attractive about that type of niche? Because you do have a lower price point on buying them. You're not going to find them in the big cities, right? I mean, you may on the outskirts of like maybe Jacksonville, on the outskirts of Tampa, in places that you'd be like, wait, there's a mobile home park there. Nobody even realized that, right? Like they're kind of hidden. I've even driven down I-4 when I come back from Tampa, and I see on the right-hand side, I'm like, there's parks. There's still parks, and I think it's the Lakeland area. There's tons of parks in Lakeland.
Yes.
Yeah. So for those that don't know about mobile homes and the investment in the mobile homes, and that's great. You're in a niche where you buy and hold and you're renting them out. And that's even a great question about the type of clientele for that as well. It's like what kind of people are actually renting in that area, and how has it made sense for you to be renting to people there? Because many people, like I had Greg Cohen on my show, and Greg was talking about how you shouldn't do buy and hold unless there's a certain criteria, like of the city, of a population, or maybe there's different things around there, the different activities. What is attractive about the mobile home niche?
So we've got a lot of questions unpacked here. One thing I love about real estate is everyone can make money in a different way. And I'm probably going to give you the exact opposite of our niche of what Greg tells people to look for. And this is the confusing thing for new people, is because you hear two opposite things and they both work. But that's why I love real estate. So let's just go through some real quick basics of mobile homes. In my opinion, we have three different styles. We have where you buy just the home inside of a park and you're paying lot rent every single month. So you own the home and that's it. You own a big box of air and you can rent those out. You can sell them on payments as long as the park owner manager allows you to. They kind of rule the land there because you're paying them every month. We do a few of those. Our main business, though, is we buy the single mobile home and we buy the dirt underneath it. So it is a real estate transaction. When you buy just a home, it's a DMV transaction. It's really not different than going and buying a car and changing it over. You just go a different booth at the DMV. But we love to buy the dirt and the home together. It doesn't matter if it's a tenth of an acre, if it's 10 acres. We buy it on cash flow. And then the third style is buying the whole park itself. You own the park. It's a flat apartment complex. There's really two styles there. You either own all the homes and you rent them all out, or you own just the dirt and you rent the parking spot out. So you own a big parking lot. We haven't done a park yet, but the big parking lot style is attractive to me because you'll hear me mention a few times, I like to invest a little bit lazy. And a parking lot sounds really lazy. So our main business, again, is the home and land. So our niche is the blue collar worker. That's who I relate with. That's who I like as a tenant. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with anybody else, but that's who I want. So we buy properties in an area that are going to attract that type of tenant. That's one, I think that's the very first part of landlording, is buy where you want your ideal tenant to live. So we don't buy in these war zone areas. And you hear the bad stigma about mobile homes and how trailer trash and all that. Yeah, it can be true. It can also be true for a site-built home, a wood frame home. There's ghettos and all types of homes. That's the area, not the home. So we like to buy them with a little bit of land. A quarter acres are our sweet spot. We like it in the country somewhere, so the person can bring their chickens and maybe even their pigs and all their animals, and they love it. It might be down a dirt road. I don't look at the population so much. I look at where is it at and does my ideal tenant want it. I do believe you should look at all that, because if you don't want someone bringing pigs, you shouldn't buy down a dirt road. You should buy in a nice neighborhood where the neighborhood's going to say, you can't have this wildlife there and these pigs and everything. So there's no right or wrong. It's just buying to attract that tenant.
Very different niche.
Yeah, that's just, that's who we have found that we get along best with. And again, there's no right or wrong. There's needs to be housing for everyone. We have also found that our niche has been 1960s and 1970s trailers. I mean, your eyes just lit up. A lot of people's do. Those are old. When people tell me, yeah, I've got an old one, and they tell me an 80s or 90s, I'm like, I get excited. I'm like, yes, that's new for me. Obviously, we would love to have some in the 2000s, but we have filled the void in the market. You can't finance these with bank financing, these old ones. So now you either have to have cash or private money, or for what we do a lot of is we offer the seller to finance it to us. So now they're able to get more money, because I'll gladly pay them more, because that's can be cheaper for us than our private money, and it can make them more money than the bank's going to give. So a lot of times we find a good win-win there. And then we fill the market, because there's the stereotype of the bad landlord and the slumlord. I believe it's a small niche of people, and they suck. They give us all a bad name. Do I believe that there's a little bit larger population of that bad landlord, slumlord in these older mobile homes? Yes. And I know I'm not going to change the world with it, but if I can be that one guy that is defying the bad stereotype and helping to change it over a little bit, I'll be happy. I'll die a little bit happier.
I think you're
And
actually
so
in a
it's just,
great position though, Adrian, because again, with people coming in from other states and other markets, you are basically putting a hold on that type of land for however long until you want to sell it. So no matter what, even if the appreciation level is not growing right now for you, there is major potential like 10 to 20 years from now where it's going to be
mhm,
like you're going to get that letter from the hedge fund or all the investors are mailing the mailbox thing, and then you're going to say, wait a second, what I bought for 20,000 is now 100 or 200,000. It's like I got a return of my on investment with the tenant,
mhm,
and now I've gotten my return with owning the land and the mobile home. That was a great distinction too, because many investors, when they buy mobile homes, they don't really care about the mobile home itself, which is the personal property, DMV property. They just want the land and then they'll do something with it. But you are taking both together and still using it to rent out. Maybe you fix it just a tad. You're not doing like a major flip or a rehaul
mhm.
on it, but just enough so you can make your money. And I think you're finding great price points with mobile homes. You can do a lot more than just buy a $500,000 house and then that's your only project you're working on. So tell us about how
Yeah.
you would go. Yeah, go for it.
I was gonna say, if you like to take flashy pictures in front of your big rehab projects and stuff, mobile homes are not for you. I call this my bank account back here. This is one we actually own.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
that's great that you have that back there as the background. But this is what you do. You got to promote
yeah.
what you do. And you may find in the round table or the other meetings that there's investors that stumbled upon a mobile home situation and they have no idea what to do. And then that's a great moment for you if they wanted to JV or kind of do something, a
Mhm.
finder's thing, but and to jump in on that kind of transaction. And it's just a great niche all around, especially in Polk. So tell everybody, how did you exchange $386 cash flow into $3,311 cash flow?
All right. So about 2 years ago, so we're in 2021, it was 2019, we decided it was time to sell a house. We bought it for right around 120, bank financing. We had, good, pretty low rates. That time was great rates and they've gone down since. And our tenant was moving out basically. So anytime a tenant moves out, you kind of reevaluate, do I still want to keep this property? Is my money better used somewhere else? So we decided we could sell it for just under $200,000. And we really did the math of how much money do we have in equity and where can we put that money to better use to make more than we're making right now. And we decided we could do that with mobile homes because we bought this house before we were really in the niche of mobile homes. So we decided to do a 1031 exchange. Now, most people do the 1031 exchange and they move up. We exchanged out of that one house into 7 mobile homes. We had to cover the debt. So we had to get some owner financing, some private money. We had to do all of that. And then we put $50,000 of our own cash into rehab. We put 50,000 into 7 mobile homes. A lot of people put that into one rehab project. And so basically our cash flow went from on the site built, beautiful home. It was nicer than the house we lived in, of $386 net a month to 7 mobile homes at $3,311 net a month. And it's actually gone up a tiny bit because we did have a little turnover and we realized our rents were really low on some of them, even though we had just rented them out. I mean, rents have gone straight up. So it's probably a tiny bit higher than that now. But it's just cash flow. I mean, that's to me the power of what the cash flow from mobile homes. Now, they are good cash flow because they're higher risk. there are hurricane missiles when Irma comes back through or another hurricane. There's higher risk in these older ones. The new ones are tied down. They're built to a different standard, and they're said to be the same as a site-built home. I'm probably still not going to stay in one if a hurricane's coming, but I also may not stay in a site-built home if a hurricane's coming. That's why we evacuate.
That's a great point you made about the hurricane. So I think what you're doing is unique because, of course, it would be terrible that the mobile home would be destroyed in a hurricane, but you also incur a lot less property damage and monetary damage if that occurred, like compared to a $300,000 house, 400,000. I mean, that gets destroyed with flood damages and windstorm and gets blown down. What you're dealing with is a mobile home, but you still have the land and you can always do whatever you want with it after. You could say, well, this is not a great area for a mobile home. Like, we need to build something that's like concrete and block and, whatever you use. I'm just throwing words out there.
I mean, that's exactly it. But that's also why we need, I think it's irresponsible, how about I word it that way, to buy at the same return on investment as a site-built home, because a lot of these 60s and 70s, there's no hurricane coverage insurance. You can't buy it. We haven't found an insurer that will do it. Now, when you get in the 80s and 90s, all depends on the county, that they will insure them. So if a hurricane wipes it out, we don't get a check like you get to rebuild your site-built home. And a lot of these older ones, everything's fine there, but if you go and put a new home on it, the county municipality is going to make you bring everything up to code. And as you mentioned, we're in Lakeland a lot. It's pretty low water or high water table, the ground level. So we may have to put above ground septic. You can get in the $10,000-$12,000, and then the moving cost is expensive in Florida. And the well may be close to the septic, and now that has to be moved. You can be $20,000-$30,000 to put a used trailer on there. And again, that's just why I believe you responsibly, if you want to be in the game long term, you gotta buy at really good numbers. And that's what the hedge funds, when I see them buying, sometimes they're buying them at 10-12% because that's great these days to them. And I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see the long term of that being a good plan. There's too much risk.
Let me ask you this about mobile homes. Do you find that there's a lot of title issues with them?
Yes. Yeah, we have two that we don't own the home at all. We bought them. They have no title. We can't find a VIN on the home whatsoever. So technically we bought the land, and there happens to be an old trailer on it that no one has claimed. And if someone came and tried to claim it, we would have to have a discussion at that point, but we don't technically own those two homes. This is probably a good time to get into that probate story.
Oh, yeah, I'm ready for it. And I ask that because you're talking about land that has sat for a long time, a mobile home that have since the 1960s and 70s, and who knows, maybe they're doing their own deeds and maybe they got like quit claims.
Exactly.
Here we go, right? We're talking about it. So tell everybody, Adrian, what is the probate story we were waiting for?
So there's so many times I've gone in after we buy the place and we're looking around and we see the Staples packet of quitclaim deeds in there. Well, yeah. So I get the seller call and we go look at the property. We come to an agreement, and I know a little bit of title work. This isn't my first property at this time. And I'm looking at it and I'm looking at the history. I'm like, this is going to be an easy one. It's only been in one family name from the start of the title, the very first title, all the way through. And so I emailed the title company, and I'm kind of excited for her that, hey, I got you an easy one finally. It took me 8 months to close this property. So what's happens? They did these quitclaim deeds that we talked about, and they used a power of attorney to do one of them. And they used that power of attorney after the person passed away.
Oh my gosh.
And so we ended up needing to do 2 probates because they couldn't, the probate world, but for whatever reason, they had to go back 2 probates ago and do mom's probate. grandma's probate and mom's probate. Well, one of the sisters no longer lived in the country, and she lived in London. And luckily, I got a hold of her very easily, so that wasn't as difficult as I expected it to be. And she agreed, I'll help out however I want. I thought my sister already owned this. I don't want it. I'll sign off anything. So the probate attorney sent everything over there. Well, in London, a notary actually gives legal advice. So the notary in London would not go and notarize it because they didn't understand the documents because they were from America. So we had to get the lady to drive to the embassy, which was over 2 hours away, but her ill husband prevented her from doing that. So it took months for her to be able to do that. There was also lots of other title issues, as you already alluded to. There seems to always be a title issue. That's the real quick story on it. I mean, we had to do 2 probates because they used quitclaim deeds and didn't know that a power of attorney dies the second the person dies. They went to Staples and just thought they could solve it. And it took 8 months, but we solved the problem. I stuck with it, kept making the Google Voice phone calls over to London because they only cost me 10 cents a minute on Google Voice, and everyone wanted to work it out. It was fun.
So yeah, that is a classic story right there of people just doing their own deeds and not knowing the proper chain of title, right? And you're smart, you get it. You can't use the POA after the person's deceased. And I'm just gonna take a guess that they probably use the invalid POA to also put it in their name, which was probably another red flag or something close to that.
You're right. They did that. You're right. Yeah, they
You
did.
can't do that. Okay. And there's a title insurance plays a very big role in everything. And where that misunderstanding comes from with people doing their own deeds is you forget that if you ever want to close on it later, you have to have the proper documentation, and you have to have A to B, B to C, C to D. You can't just be doing and moving things over and quit claiming them, and it causes problems. So when we were talking before and you were talking about the niche, I was thinking there has to be so many title issues that come up, whether it's nuisance liens, judgment liens, for people owing things back. You have probably permit issues. Like I remember hearing a story that the septic tank the permit was wrong or something, and the fines kept adding up. And so you have these weird things that pop up from time to time. And that's a great story for people to know about that. Again, yeah.
I mean, this is, I think, one of the values as us real estate investors bring is we're willing to deal with these terrible title issues and flaws and wait for them and wait the 8 months. Yeah, I've never done a transaction that everything came out perfect and you just go and sign. I've never done one. I'm looking forward to it still. I hear they're out there.
I'm telling you, there are probates out there that can be super easy, right? There's mobile homes that don't have title issues that can be slam dunks. But then you do have the ones that are crazy. But if you're willing to be in the game and stick around, it may be worth it, because sometimes nobody else is going to do it but you. And if you find those are great. But of course, those slam dunk probate ones where 4 kids, no spouse, everybody gets along. What a beautiful day that is. But who knows when that'll happen, but they do happen from time to time. So the other thing we were going to talk about today is landlording on autopilot. The thing I have to hear about, how you took over 10 vacations while running your own business. I haven't even taken one this year. I'm ready to do it. Spring is here and the air is great. I want to just get out and get away from the cold. So how did you do this? What did you do? And what's your mindset like, and how did you get there?
I love the term geographically free. When I heard that probably 4 years ago, I was like, that's going to be a key part of our business. We have been building our business around that ever since. So that is simple things as everything on Google Drive or OneDrive, anything like that. It's so you can be anywhere. We use a CRM like Podio is the one we use. There's lots of these little things, and every time I made a goal 2 years ago every time I went on vacation to solve another problem of, I would be somewhere and I'd be like, man, how do I not have that? How, and I have to have someone drive to my house, get on my computer, someone, but that is a big part of our business. So that also means we don't take on huge rehabs. We don't fix and flip because that doesn't fit into the lifestyle I want. So how do we landlord? That's our main business. We set it up where the tenants pay with a deposit only card. They can pay 24/7, 365 days a year at any Bank of America ATM. I don't love Bank of America, but they have this option for me. And we do a lot of different things. We're doing self showings. And then we started this before COVID, and COVID just helped us make it popular. Our process to get into our homes is when our application process starts. So the very quick version of that is everything funnels the people to the home. If they see the ad on the sign on the side of the road, if they see it on Facebook, they see it on Craigslist, no matter where they see it, everything directs them to the home. This does a few things. It gets them to see the home, and it makes sure that we're complying with fair housing because we're replying to everyone with auto replies. There's a voicemail set up that just directs them to the home. The Facebook has automatic replies. The email address has automatic replies. So we're not possibly discriminating against anyone. They all funneled there. So now they get there and they see a sign in the yard that says see window. So now they got to get out of their car. They got to walk around and look at the place. And then they see a sign in the window that has all the information again. It already has it, and everywhere else they've already looked. And that has a phone number that they can actually get a hold of us. First time they can talk to us. And by this point, again, it's work. So we're making sure that they can follow directions, that they actually really want the place. We are comfortable with the self showings. We have them send us over a copy of their driver's license. We give them a lockbox code. We use SimpliSafe as a security system, and we give them that code, and that ensures us that we're able to see when they come and go so that they didn't come back late at night and try to sleep there. We change the codes very often. We let them look around on their own. So that gives them a no pressure because we don't want to talk someone into our property because we want someone that is going to stay a very long time. I always joke around with them. I want you to stay 2, 3, 10, 15, 30, 40 years. And at some point when we're actually signing the lease, I always make a joke. And I get this from one of my mentors, Dave Tony, that I want you to stay here. And when you happen to pass away, I want your kids to move in. And when they pass away, I want their kids to move in. That's how long I want you to rent this place. And it is truth. You know, I say it in a joking way to get a little chuckle out of them, but I am very serious about that. I want them to stay forever because both of our lives are easier when they stay forever. I got to work. And I mentioned I can't be on vacation if we're turning properties over every year. And we keep our properties a little under market rent for that reason, because we want to attract a lot of people and pick the person that's going to take care of the property the best. It's going to make all their rent payments on time or early every month. We had very little problems through all of COVID. You know, we had a few people that were affected. We have some payment plans that we're on, keeping good communication. I think once we got anyone get over 1 month behind, but everyone, and it was just for a short little spurt for about a half a month. We've kept everyone on little payment plans, good communication. We reached out to people in the middle of March before COVID was this crazy thing and said, how are you doing? What do you need? And the people that were going to have issues with April's payment, they told us. We didn't ask them. They told us. I said, hey, let's have a discussion, keep us up to date, and we'll waive any late fees. And we still had people pay on time, even though they knew that they weren't going to have to pay anything late, because we treat them well and they want to treat us well.
So that's incredible. That's an amazing landlord mindset, that treating the tenants really well and wanting to keep them for lifetimes and generations is helping you stay stable, which the stability allows you to go on vacations.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that together plays a role, and then you can go anywhere. You're not worried about the tenant that's causing chaos. But that's a great question too. How are you vetting the right type of tenants for that kind of situation? Like, how do you know that that tenant is the right fit for that lifetime, that generational moment?
We are very transparent. I mean, we are not perfect with this by any means. We just had someone move out that I should have never let her move in. She was one of my mistakes, and we changed our process a little bit. We learned from her year there, but we are very, very transparent. Before we ever collect money from people, we'll get the application. I will not collect money until I have a phone call with them and I explain everything about the property, anything that we do that's a little different, anything that may be a little ugly about the property that, hey, we're not going to paint this. We have one right now and it's got a very bright purple room and some shelving that's in an awkward place. And my contractor wanted to take all that down. I was like, nope, we're going to leave it. We're not painting that room, because I want them to ask me about that. I want to point that out and say, we are not taking care of this. And for us, that means that we're going to get someone that is willing to take care of that and paint it or take those shelving down. So they're willing to make the home theirs. That's part of the mentality that I'm looking for. Again, it's not perfect, but I want them to make it the home their home, because then they'll have more respect for it. Hopefully they'll stay there longer and it's their home. I don't want to go there every month and do an inspection. I don't want to go there every quarter and do an inspection. Yes, we drive by the properties and we make sure that everything's okay, but we answer the phone when they call, or we call them right back. We actually will talk to our tenants. So many people don't want to talk to their tenants. We'll randomly check on them. If I drive by and the place looks prettier than we gave it to them, which does happen, I send them a thank you card. We'll send them a thank you card. We'll send them a birthday card. We let them know that we care about them. Going back to Dave Tony again, his quote is, our tenants are our biggest asset. Most people think the house is, but an empty house costs you money and it makes you nothing. You lose money every month. If you have the right tenant in there, you make money. If you have the wrong tenant in there, doesn't matter how cheap you bought the house, you lose money. So it's all of it's the vetting, and we're just so transparent. I don't hide anything from them. I tell them everything, and when we go through, we sit down and do the lease up. We are going to do a little experiment now and do some through Zoom so we can record it and stuff, but we're not going to sign it. We're going to go over it, because it takes about an hour to hour and a half to go over the lease, because we go over everything. And I'm not a lawyer, so I don't explain what everything means, but I can give them a story of every paragraph in there of Shannon did this, and now we had to add this here. So-and-so did this. We talk about the whole thing. We make sure they understand it. Every once in a while, there's a change that needs to be made, and we cross it out and we make a change and we sign it. So we don't want someone signing something that they don't understand. It's the silliest thing to do, because how can I then call them up and say, hey, you were supposed to take care of this? And they're like, what do you mean? Well, you signed. I see landlords doing that. Well, you signed the lease. They didn't read it. No one reads what they sign. So if we go through it all, it's the expectations, setting them up. And part of also, going back to the original question of how do we take over 10 vacations a year when we get maintenance calls? Because, that happens. We tell the tenant, it's your responsibility to reach out to so-and-so. He's going to be the one to make the repair. We reach out to that person and say, tenant from 123 Main Street is going to be reaching out to you to make this repair. And our contractors and the handyman, they know that if it looks like it's tenant damage, to let us know that, and then we'll go back to the tenant. But we set it up where it's the tenant's responsibility to reach out to the contractor. Because when I'm in the middle, now I have to work. But bigger than that, it's a miscommunication that happens between people. I'm the bad link there, miscommunication. If it's just between the two of them, it's hard to miscommunicate what time they're going to be there. And it happens more timely. So we just try to avoid stuff, and we try to help our tenants out and set them up to succeed.
And that's very important, very valuable too. I mean, going through an entire lease, I mean, sitting there and going through the whole thing. I mean, if we had a room and there were landlords in it and we asked that question, I don't know how many would raise their hand. I don't know. Maybe everybody would if they were doing it, but that's super, yeah.
And I'm an odd, sorry to interrupt you there. I'm an oddball. I love doing that part. I love meeting them there. I won't sign a lease with someone over DocuSign and stuff. I'll do all this other part, but I want to meet them. I want them to get to know me. We may not ever see each other again. We may see each other in a year. We always pass out some type of holiday gift. And luckily, a lot of them are home when I knock on the door and give it to them. If they're not, I don't see them then, but I want to see them. I want to talk to them. I enjoy it. Sometimes they'll bring me to the back and show me their tomato garden. I garden. So one of my houses, if I'm in the area, he shows me how his garden is doing. And I love it.
Right.
It's fun.
Yeah. If you make
You have to
it's
care.
your passion. Yeah,
Yeah.
you love working with the people and you love working with tenants and helping them and when they're helping you with the property, it's keeping it maintained, it's keeping it nice.
Mhm.
You keep those liens and anything that could attach and have issues. Really random. What are your thoughts on like container homes? I could see that being something as like instead of the mobile home, like the one behind you. Let's say it was
Mhm.
falling apart or demolished. Why don't you just get a container home and it's steel?
I love the idea, especially for Florida, because it's a hurricane box. I mean, it's not going to blow away. Like, these are hurricane missiles. They fly. So I love the idea. I am very boring, so I don't get on the forefront of anything. I Once it's really figured out and someone can solidly tell me, yes, they're never going to come back and tell you it's zoned differently or whatever. I have some friends that do them in different states. I love following their projects. I think they're so cool. I, I love it. I want to go stay in. One of the guys has an Airbnb over a cliff in Chattanooga area. I think it's beautiful. I want to go stay at his Airbnb. Do I want to do it yet? Not until it's just this boring thing that is for sure. I don't want the government to ever come back and tell me, oh, that was cool then, but you know what? We made a new law. I don't know. Maybe I'm naive on the topic, but I think they can be perfect for Florida and hurricanes.
So, Greg Cohen and Alex Safakis of the JWB group in Jacksonville,
Mhm.
they actually they're doing right now, and it'll be done soon, but they're doing a major container home remodeling in downtown where they're doing it like one's on top of the other and they're
Oh
doing
yeah,
interconnecting. You should check it out because it's inspiring. They
I
redid
will.
the inside, they painted the outside, they made it like an apartment complex, but they use container homes. And the only
That's
thing I can
awesome.
think of is like, what is the difference between a container home and the home behind you? If you can make it work and it's structurally better, it's stable, won't have any issues, hurricanes, leaking. I mean, the thing is steel, so you got
Yeah.
something to work with.
I, One day I might look into it. That does sound like work doing that big rehab. I like to joke around that I don't like to do all that work. It makes it hard to be on vacation. But it does sound like a fun project one day. We might look into. I'm gonna check those guys out and follow them because I think they're safer. Like this is a really old one behind me, and you can't make the argument that that's a safe thing to be in a hurricane. And like you said, if we were to replace that with a container home, that could be a very safe spot for someone to stay. And the hurricanes are the big issue here in Florida.
And not only that, you're almost helping the environment too in another way because you have so many of these containers that tip over and they get lost at sea, and then who knows where they get shipped and they don't know what to do with them. They just leave them in the scrapyard. But if everybody could figure out a use for them, just like JWB is doing, they're amazing. So definitely check them out, Adrian. It's really
Awesome
cool.
idea.
Yeah.
Cool.
So let's talk about self-improvement and that business is easy, but mindset is challenging. I've seen you at the masterminds recently on the Facebook groups. You're posting the pictures, right? You're posting
Hmm.
away. You're there. You're loving it. You're having fun. But also talking about the miracle morning. What is all the self-improvement stuff and how does it benefit you as the investor to keep scaling and growing?
I think anyone can learn any business. Doesn't matter if it's real estate or something else. You can just read a book and do exactly what that person says, and it's going to work. We always get in our own way of like, oh, well, no, what if I did this? Or no, I'm not good enough to do it. We have something that stops us from doing 100% what that course told us to do. And that's our mindset. And I have been on this journey for the self-improvement, and I keep digging and getting deeper and deeper in it, because I'm realizing the more I do in that area, the more successful I am in business, my relationship with my wife, my friends, my family, everything. So these days I spend more time self-improvement, so for my own mindset, than I do learning the new real estate thing. I still go to real estate classes, but the miracle morning, as you mentioned, I do that every single morning. I have not missed a morning. Now, some mornings it might be 5 minutes long, and some mornings I might be an hour and a half. So if somebody has not heard of the Miracle Morning, Hal Elrod, he's a magnificent guy. You just got to look him up. You don't even have to read his book, The Miracle Morning. You can just listen to any podcast or YouTube interview of his older stuff, and he'll tell you. But it's doing these basic things that are success. So one of my coaches and one of the masterminds I'm in, he talks a lot about getting back to the basics. So what are the basics that for your success? This is different for everyone. So for me, affirmations, I actually do incantations from Tony Robbins. So those are some of my most important. Working out is huge for me. So to make sure I had the energy before this, I was doing push-ups right beforehand to get the blood pumping, to get my mindset right, to get me feeling good. I do meditation. That's another thing that I believe helps me be so calm. And when I meditate in the morning today, it does help me a little bit today, but I believe it helps me 3 months from now. It's the building blocks of my everyday of meditating. It helps me be a calmer person in the future. And I read, like I said, I'm mainly reading self-improvement these days. I don't read as much on real estate because, like I said, I mentioned it's what's the quote from, and I'm terrible at remembering the exact quotes, but it self-improvement wears off. It's like a bath. You have to do it every day. I can't remember who said it. I'm butchering the quote, which is terrible to do, but we have to keep doing this every single day. And so masterminds, I didn't realize until more recently that there are bad masterminds. I just got very fortunate. The first two I joined are phenomenal ones, and I've been in one of them for 4 years now. It does have a coaching element to it, but you get in a room of like-minded people, and everyone is feeding into you on your turn. So we get up and we get about 45 minutes to an hour, and it's my time. If I want to talk about my problem with a real estate deal, if I want to talk about something, relationship with a friend, a family, a wife, marketing, doesn't matter what it is. And everyone's job is to feed into me, giving me ideas and feedback of what they think. And, if you're in a good group, that becomes like a family, and they can tell when you're not saying the right thing, or you're hiding something, or you should be talking about a different topic. And we talk about it, and it's a very safe room to have that in. So I'm in 2 masterminds now, and I've actually even started another one because I love them. It's just brainstorming on steroids. And when I'm maybe not so confident in something I'm going to do, I think back to my group, the faith they have in me, or we call it borrowing the faith of the group. Or I'll just, reach out to them and say, hey, I'm struggling with this. And everyone, they're, like I said, they're kind of my confidence as well. It's, if you're in the right group, they're just phenomenal.
And you'll grow from it.
Yes.
Professionally, personally, everything. And you
Yes.
think back and you apply it to things that you're not even working on, probably. Like, it goes to self-improvement.
Yeah. And, if you have a problem at home in a relationship or with a friend or family, it weighs on you so much that when you need to go and negotiate, or you need to go and take care of an issue, you're not going to be mentally there, and you're not going to be able to think clear. And the times I have had issues, with some relationship or whatever I'm, dealing with, everyone has their ups and downs of no one has this perfect life, or they're lying if they say they do. Those times, my business is not as clear, and I'm not getting as many uh, good leads. You can call it karma, faith. I don't care what you call it. Something is happening there. And I believe it's back to my own mindset. That's just my belief that I am putting out the wrong energies. I am distracted. I'm not seeing what is very clear when I'm in the right mindset. And that I don't know exactly where I'm at in this journey, but I know it's never going to end. I'm going to be on it until the day I die. I'm a big Tony Robbins fan. Again, Hal Elrod's one of my favorites. I've been to 2 Tony Robbins events. I plan to go to more. There's not anyone I have met that is very successful in the way I want to be successful that does not do a lot of self-improvement.
That's critical to keep in your arsenal, right? So any
Mhm.
investors out there, realtors, real estate professionals, or business professionals, you must improve your self-improvement. I'm even taking a master class from Adrian right now about, he's speaking to all of us. You need to get your self-improvement together because they are building blocks to the next step, to the future, that things that may happen 12 months from now, 3 years from now, what you do today affects you later. And if you can take those steps in that action, you're going to make it happen. And it'll help you. When you put yourself in experiences and situations, you can think back to those moments about what did I do then, or watching others, right? The mastermind, watching others' mistakes or hearing stories from others kind of helps tweak your mind. But you also got to be the thinker type too. And you got to be able to be flexible and mold and be quick on your feet to be situational.
Very well said. And you got to be vulnerable and willing to admit you're not perfect when in those situations that you just mentioned. And I'll give everyone the cheapest, best self-improvement I know of. It's called Toastmasters. And most people think of Toastmasters as a place to go learn to speak. And yes, you get to learn how to speak there. You also get to learn how to listen, and there's some leadership side of it. But speaking is the number one fear. And if you can get over that, at least a little bit, everything else starts to seem a little easier. I think I've been in Toastmasters for 4 years, I believe now. And they say in Toastmasters, if we sell anything, we sell confidence. And every Toastmasters club is a little bit different price wise, but you're looking around $60 for 6 months. Some of them meet twice a month, some of them meet every week. And now that it's on Zoom, you can get on Zoom. It is the cheapest self-improvement there is, even if you never want to be a public speaker. I'm telling you, just check out your local club and give it a try. You will not be disappointed in the growth that you get from it.
I'll even say that podcasting for me definitely has been self-improvement, right? Because
I'm sure.
I I have a speaking style, right? Like, when I first started getting out and networking, they do the pass the mic, and you learn from mentors, and you get up there and you say your thing, and you learn not to always say what everybody else is saying and be different. But then what does that mean? What does different mean? And then you start tweaking your style and finding hook points. But what I've noticed is when I've done the things like with Frank's group and doing the probate stuff, or I'm doing speaking things, hosting a probate boot camp here, and getting and being in experiences, you learn from those to help improve you to the next level. But something like podcasting and being on almost my 35th or 40th episode has also translated to a speaking style off camera back in-person sessions. Like Adrian, I was at a networking event here in Jacksonville. I didn't expect it to be 40 people, 45 people like coming to see me. But when I sat down, I was just like, yeah, probate is this and this. And I just felt like energy and passion. And it was incredible because I was not that speaking style a year ago, or the speaking style a year ago, the year before that. And so when you find your rhythms, that's another reason why I love doing these, is it keeps helping improve. I think there's something to be said about talking in a camera. I really do. Like looking at you on the screen, okay, but also looking at the camera, not looking at you, is a whole other thing about being an on-camera personality. It's very
It,
unique, you know?
it is challenging. You are right. It's what you can't see here is I got my light behind me. I have a sign above here that says enthusiastic, because you have to have more enthusiasm on the camera, like you said, than in real life. And then I have an arrow over here pointing towards the camera. So like you said, I'm not looking at you, I'm looking at the camera. I have all these notes and all this stuff to help me look alive because it's not easy.
But you have all of that in place because you've learned, you've tweaked, and you're like,
Yes.
this is how I need to do it. But that it's incredible. Self-improvement and figuring out and tweaking the nuances as you move through life. That is a lesson from Adrian right there. That was amazing. Adrian, I have a lightning round. I've learned to do the lightning round because we have been on and we've gotten so much content, and we want to hear this stuff from you. But I will start with this signature questions I always ask on my show because everybody's got a different answer, right? Like I get a different answer from somebody like Ron LeGrand. When I ask the question about how do you build trust between you and the seller, he'll say it's not about the trust, it's about somebody's got a problem, you need to bring a solution. Or you may have somebody say, look, it's about really being there for these people, sitting down with them, being authentic. There's very different answers. It may be with sellers, it may be with people that you network with, it may be with colleagues. But for you with the real estate world, how are you building trust between you and the seller that wants to sell the mobile home, the property? How are you doing it, not just in the beginning, not in the middle, but throughout the entire transaction?
We are authentic. I mean, that's what you said it. We are authentic and transparent. This is the brand. This shirt, it became the brand. It's not, I didn't think this up to be this perfect thing, but this shirt shows I'm the guy next door. I'm not this big company because that's not my personality. If I was the personality of a big company, it doesn't mean that one's better than the other. Then I wouldn't be just wearing this shirt. So the branding fits me because I walk in there and I'm not this crazy professional guy that has the collared shirt. That's just I'm gonna feel awkward doing that. So the branding fits my personality, and so that's the start of it. And then I just go in there and I tell them everything very open. I ask people or encourage people to go list it with a realtor because I think that that's the best way that they can get their best time on it. And that's not helping me. I don't get any referral fees or anything. I do what I believe is best. Now, most of the time, they've already tried that. They look at these different directions, but I give them options. I don't like doing, hey, this is the cash offer. I say, well, have you thought about this? Or we could do this for cash, or we can do, this on payments. Which one works better for you? I ask them why they're selling it. Most people don't ask that. You ask, Peter Fortunato says, why are you selling a nice house like this? And that helps you build better offers for that person. So back to the real quick story, the other piece of that probate story that we talked about is that lady could not take cash or she was going to lose her subsidy for the housing she was in. So we could not give her cash. So we had to make her payments. And we had her check with her CPA. We went back and forth to structure the payments at an amount. So she's getting $200 and $290 a month, which meant she gets $12 less on her government subsidy. So we worked through all that so she would get the best for her every month. If we gave her cash, she would have lost it for going forward years and then had this big chunk of cash one time. And that wasn't the best. That's my
Yeah,
long answer to your lightning question.
being authentic. Yeah, for sure. Being there
And caring,
yeah,
just truly caring. Not, you can't fake caring.
for sure. Yeah, you got to be there for them. You got to show them your value, and then show them how you can make a difference with them, and that means a lot. I mean, you're the landlord, they're the tenant, they're the seller, you're the buyer. I mean, just being authentic. So the other question I get, and I get different answers, of course, on everything, but what is a number one tip to locking up the contract, bringing it to closing? Like I've heard things about bring the contract to the actual property, right? When they're ready, bring it to the property. What would be your number one tip for locking up the deal?
I'm going to repeat again, be authentic and transparent. But besides that, yes, we make an offer. If I see a property, I make an offer. And I may tell them, look, this should be your last resort offer, but you have something here. And we write up exactly what we talked about. So we'll talk about, if it's not just a standard uh, agreement, which most of ours are not, we talk about it and then we write it up and then we review it. And sometimes we remembered it wrong within a few minutes and we scratch it out and write it again. We do what we say. If I say I'm going to do something, I do it. And people can feel and see that in people. Like you can't fake that again.
Yeah, you have to be authentic in every situation. I put that
Yeah.
on the PowerPoint too with heirs and probate. I mean, they're sellers too at the end of the day, and they're trying to get a deal. You're trying to get a deal, and so one of those things to be part of that probate niche is bringing the value, bringing the authenticity, and showing the value that you can bring to them is very important. So again, everybody's got a different answer on it, and authenticity plays a huge role in the transactions. Now for the final lightning round question for you, Adrian. Everybody's got a different answer. Title, appraisal, lender, tenants won't let them in. It could be anything from I can't even think about everything I've heard. Problem solving, title, who knows? What is one of the biggest deal killers that you find when you're hunting the deals and you're getting the deals and you're about to either get it to closing or maybe even before closing? It could be starting it. It could be the phone call. It could be the initial phone call or the ending. What is that biggest deal killer to you?
Before getting it under contract, the biggest deal killer is not being fast enough, especially these days. So I don't answer the phone anymore when we get calls. We have a stay-at-home lady that answers it, and I'm always reminding her, if you don't answer it before it goes to voicemail, the chances of ever talking to that person just dropped. And I don't know the percentage, but I can almost promise it's over 50%. And then if we don't call them back within an hour, again, it's dropped again. Huge amount. People are moving fast. And let's say they call a hedge fund after me and I didn't answer. I can almost promise you they're going to pay more than me because they're borrowing money at almost nothing. So speed. And then the same thing of getting out there, because in today's competitive market, a lot of times if people have time, they could sell it on the MLS and get a lot more money, which is the best thing for them to do. The speed, if they are needing me to help them, they need me to act very fast. So the speed is the biggest killer before the contract. And after the contract, probably title. We don't have that many fall through after, because yeah, probably something coming up in title that we didn't know about. And even then, we have other options for the people. We have one that could never close. Maybe one day I'll bring it to you when you're bored to look at it. I mean, it needs multiple probates and it has illegal transactions in it. It might cost more than the property's worth and that's why the transaction failed. But I told them, well, why don't we lease it from you and then we'll sublet it out? So we have a 40-year lease with the rights to sublet it out. So we solved the problem after they thought everything was dead and they couldn't do anything with this place anymore. So there's always another option to present. If that didn't work for them, it didn't work for them.
For sure, title always ends up can be a problem. Multiple probate, somebody does the deed after the POA, stuff like that, right? But being in those experiences helps you learn even for next time about, wait, how do we handle this probate? Like, did we even have to do this full blown thing? Yeah.
And not over explaining. I forgot about that because I've gotten much better recently. But at the beginning, I used to over explain things. And a lot of people don't want that. It confuses them, and I'm not the best person to explain it. So now if it's a title issue that we know that's going to come up, I'll talk about it a tiny bit. And then I'm just like, you know what? Why don't we schedule a call with the title company? If they were to ask me a probate question, I'd be like, why don't we schedule a call with Al? I would do that because you can explain it way clearer and way less words than I can. That's not what I do for a living. So I shouldn't be doing that. Relying on your team.
But even being in the probate world, I've learned a lot from investors like you. It's like you don't want to hear all the the little logistical things. You want to get, how do we do this? What do we have to do? Who are we looking for? Is it easy? Is it simple? Is it going to be how long and how much? Right?
Where
It's
do I
always how long.
sign?
Yeah,
Yeah.
where do they sign? Where do I exactly? And so that's the same thing, right? You explaining it to people is the same way.
Yeah.
And when you go over, that's when even in one of the probate webinars I did, somebody after it sent me this timeline and they were like, let me know what you think so I can mail it out to all the heirs. And I'm like, I looked at it. It was like from 3 to 5 months, it's this. From 7 months, 9 months, it's this. From 1 to 2 years, I'm like 1 to 2 years. Like we're getting into years now with probate. That doesn't have to be that long
Oof,
at all. It could
it's
be
gonna
a
scare them
week.
off.
Yeah, it could be a week. It could be a month. It could be 3 months, a lot less than that. But you don't want to scare them off, right? And doing timelines like that is over explaining, but very valuable for people to know, Adrian. And title issues can be solved if the deal makes sense for everybody involved. They talk about that all the time. Hey, so final words. This has been amazing having you on. I can't wait for this to come out for people to hear, but let everybody know final words. Where can they find you? Who are you looking for to connect with you? And just give your final thoughts on everything.
I'm on Facebook. You can follow friend request me. Send me a message as well saying that you saw me on the podcast here, because I try to skim through the people that are just the spammers. And then our actual business page is on Facebook as well. My Wife Buys, and you can follow that. We post a lot of videos of different things we're doing. We try to do a little bit of educating sellers as well. So if you're looking to learn about mobile homes, that can be another way. I am on Instagram and Twitter. I am not that good at posting on those. I'm working on doing a auto scheduler. But anyways, it's at My Wife Buys there. You can email me, Adrian, ADRIAN at My Wife Buys, and send me a message. If I can help you, I'd be glad to help. I'm stepping into the teaching world a little bit. Like, you're already there, and it's fun. I enjoy giving back, and that's how I learn. So I'm starting to teach a little bit, and if I can help you out, I can help you out. If you have a mobile home in the Central Florida area, I'm a pretty tight, 30 minutes from Plant City. I'd love for you to send it over, and maybe we're your buyers for it.
Yeah, there's something to be said about doing more speaking things and more education. And everybody's got their own style too. So I mean, when I do it, I know that there's life to it. There's you are passionate about what you're saying, and I don't know how to describe it. It's just amazing doing it, and I feel like
Mhm.
it makes more connections. Like if I wasn't doing speaking, would I be connecting with you? Would we be on a
Exactly.
podcast on the Al Nicoletti show right now? I have no idea. But because of that, look what it's doing. And it's not just in
Mhm.
Jacksonville. It's in Tampa. It's in Sarasota. It's in Polk. It's in Orlando. It's in Florida, which is the whole point of this podcast, is to really dive deep and dive in with the investors, the real estate professionals. So I can't wait to see you keep growing and keep being part of the masterminds and keep crushing it in the mobile home niche. And you're just going to keep doing it, Adrian.
I appreciate it. Yeah, man, it's fun. This has been great. I love the way you give back and educate. You're there to educate more than, hey, buy this, buy this. If they happen to want to do it, they do it. But if not, here's the information.
That's it. Here's what it is. Here's the probate niche. Here's what you got to know, and take with you what you want and run with it. So I'm happy everybody's learning, and there's value to provide.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
thank you so much, Adrian. Like I can't wait to the next Frank roundtable. I think I texted him the other day and I was like, Frank, you're gonna be on the show too. So he would be a great one too on the show. He's been
Yeah.
doing it for so long. And amazing guest that would be.
I've learned a lot from him. He's a great guy.
Yeah. Frank's great. And I love being a part of those the REIA meetings. So I'll be back and I'll see you there. But Adrian, thank you again for being on the show.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
Okay, everybody, if you want more content like this, make sure you check out the Al Nicoletti YouTube channel, the Al Nicoletti Facebook page, and the business page. You can find this podcast on iTunes and Spotify under the Al Nicoletti Show. There's content all over the place on every single social media channel. There's videos on probate, quiet title, partitions, and of course, this amazing podcast with Adrian. There's going to be so many more interviews and podcasts under the YouTube channel, on Spotify and iTunes. So make sure you check it out, and I will see you next time on the Al Nicoletti Show. Take care.